Fruits Basket Prelude is divided into two parts. The first half is a sort of summary of mostly the end of the final season of Fruits Basket with a few minor clips from earlier on in the series. And the second half is the part I was actually interested in and the reason I watched the movie in the first place, which is the story of Toru's mom and dad. Now, I did find it interesting because Kyoko was already a good character, but I will say that this probably elevates Kyoko like one tier up as one of my favorite Fruits Basket characters. One thing I will say about that, though, is she's sort of famous throughout the series as being like this huge delinquent, and we do see her, when we get on to the second half, being a delinquent, but I would have absolutely loved to have delved more into that. The movie's about an hour 20, so only about half of it's dedicated to her story, and I would have honestly loved you cut out the recap stuff, give me more Kyoko, maybe give me more time with her being a mom also, because when Toru's dad dies at the end, we basically get this like necessary portion where Kyoko is super depressed and then she snaps out of it, and then there's a sort of like repeat segment where she dies that we see at the end of final season. I would have loved to see more interactions between like post-birth little girl Toru and her mom and her dad, and then more interactions with Toru and her mom after the death of the dad. We basically don't get any of that at all outside of like the depression sequence arc ending, which again, this is about half of an hour 20. So it is not a lot of time spent on really anything. A whole bulk of this is spent on the relationship between Toru's parents and how they came together, which is there a weird age gap between them because he was a student teacher while she was in middle school? Absolutely. Although middle school does actually end later in Japan, so it would be more like, I assume if she was final year middle school, which she would have been because she'd be taking entrance exams, she'd be 14 and he would be a student teacher, so he'd be 20. So a 6-year age gap's not that big, but I will say like what is essentially a 14-year-old to a 20-year-old, weird. It's a little weird, which I will say that the movie actually does point out that it's a little weird. Anyway, they do have a cute relationship. I do like them together. I did enjoy the parts of the movie. I just would have loved to see more of literally every part of this. I would have loved to see more Kyoko being a delinquent. I think they did a good job showing the progression of Kyoko and Katsuya's relationship. I think they did that's about the only thing they spent the time on, but I would have loved to see more of their post-wedding life. I really liked the scene where Kyoko has a complete mental breakdown when she finds out she's pregnant. I think that was very well handled, but I would have loved to see maybe even some time with her pregnancy, although I don't know if that was strictly necessary, but definitely more her with Toru, him with Toru, her after his death with Toru. We just sort of needed more. I would have loved more of an expansion on their relationship with Kyo. Also, it's just too short. It's too choppy. It was good, but there just wasn't enough. Twitch and Discord in the description. I've been Sacrobolic. Your Envoy of Hope. Bye-bye.